And let's get started a couple of seconds late this wonderful Sunday evening on the 7th of August, 2022. Good evening, everybody. Let's hear who's out there for this week's Weekly Net. ZS6 IPS standing by. All of a sudden, my microphone cord is too short. Pierre, are you still there? All right, there we go. Good evening to Pierre, ZS6 FPS. Pierre, you suddenly, like last week, just disappeared and fell off of the bandwagon there. And you're no longer on Zoom. And of course, we got Gideon up to ZS6 GSR. Let's hear who else is out there for this evening's Weekly Net. ZS6 OPS standing by. I must get the Bobby yarn spanner out and tighten all the camera fittings on the back of my teleprompter, because sitting here somewhere, you've got a bit of a shadow on the perspex. You'll see here now, you see there. Which side? It's this bloody side, the son of a bitch. That must go back a bit. Now, yeah, I must tighten the camera up because it keeps moving. So it's also, fuck that, I'm on the beach. I don't give a shit. What the mood. Okay, 1903. Let's see, anybody else out there? Pierre, you going to come back on Zoom, or do you want to just come back and let me know what happened there? ZS6 IPS still standing by for this week's check-ins.
Doesn't seem like there's much people around.
Right across the board, Gideon, the repeaters are dead quiet, dude.
I just done some DX8 now, FT8.
Is it?
Yeah, I picked up the 15-meter bands open to the US at the moment, in Canada.
That's nice.
Yeah, I picked up a guy off Daytona Beach.
No, I'm on Daytona Beach. Can't you see? Look. Artunia. It's Artunia Beach. Okay, 1904. No further check-ins. Let's see if anybody else is out there. ZS6 OPS still standing by.
But it's looking good. We've got the green screen working nicely.
Yeah, I put it up flat against the goodie, but I noticed on one of my other applications, I'm going to have to add extra light to it. Zoom, I can adjust for low light, but the other application that I use, I can't.
Yeah.
So I've ordered some LED strips that I'm going to put in. Hopefully they're fucking hybrid, and I'll get those in. Right, 1905. Second last call for check-in. ZS6 OPS still standing by. Okay, 1905. Last call for check-in. ZS6 OPS still standing by. Just the way that this scrub sits there, it looks like I've got no arm. Nothing else heard. Good evening, everybody. Let's get started on the net. Only got ZS6 FPS out in Centurion, so he probably won't be able to come back if he doesn't get that sweet spot. And I've got Gideon, ZS6 GSR, who's up on 2 meters as well as up on Zoom. However, I know there's a lot of you guys that are out there listening. Again, you're too shy, you're intimidated, victimized. I don't know what the problem is, but I can assure you, you do not need to be a member of any club, body, entity, or otherwise to join the net. All you need is a paid-up ICASA license, and you're more than welcome to come and say hello or ask any questions or anything along those lines. So just to remind everybody that this net runs every Sunday evening from 1900 for about an hour or thereabouts. depending on what we do with low numbers. We're purely covering the COVID-19 and, of course, now the monkeypox. And then any other sort of general disaster-related, emergency-related, or things of public interest that I feel like discussing at any given time. Although, as most of you know, OPS doesn't stand for Old Pot Stirrer. It is actually Old Papa Smurf. But true to the nature of this beast, of course, I will probably have something controversial to say at some point during my transmission and broadcast on the net. So for those of you, I hope that I'll give you sufficient fair warning and time to get your audio recorders out. You can join me on Zoom and get a video recording. Then at least you'd have a full-blown facial recognition capability attached to your audio recording. So please don't forget to hit the start button or the record button because you never know how it progresses on my bulletin. I don't do bulletins on my weekly net. So let's just do a final call. Pierre, welcome back. I see you back up on Zoom. And of course, I get that salute, of course. That's a great way to go there. Last call for check-in. ZS6OPS standing by. Okay, nobody else there, nobody wanting to overcome their fear of checking in and all the rest of it. So let's kick off. This week, of course, we will start with COVID-19. Now, two very interesting things that are happening with regards to COVID-19. First and foremost, our global figures are at 589,434,592. Now, if I'm looking at this correctly, we have had a substantial increase in new cases globally, but I will confirm that now by informing you that it's not as substantial as I assumed. It's only 4.6 million new cases. So it's slightly down on last week's increase, again, in relation to the previous week, but still the figures are high. And then the death toll is currently standing at 6,417,744,000. And that is up by about 20-odd thousand. So it's not an extremely high number of deaths globally. Looks like the vaccinations and maybe just the overall herd immunity is kicking in, and the numbers are coming down. But, you know, the rate they're coming down is probably going to be another 2 to 3 years before the World Health Organization stops reporting on the daily cases. Which brings me to the second point. Let's just clear the timer. And throat, of course, ZS6OPS returning. The second important aspect of COVID-19 that I wanted to bring up on last week, during the course of last week, actually a week ago, 31st of July, the Health Department announced the end of the COVID-19 daily reporting. They had decided that the National Department of Health and National Institute of Communicable Diseases, the NICD, which is a division of the National Health Laboratory Service, has been steadfastly reporting COVID-19 surveillance data on a daily basis since 2020 in order to keep the South African public abreast with regards to the pandemic situation. However, due to the reduced severity and transmissibility of the disease at the current moment, coupled with the declining COVID-19 case numbers, the department, together with NICD, have reassessed the existing reporting structure and agreed that it is justifiable to allow majority of members of the reporting structures return to their permanent jobs on a full-time basis. ZS6OPS returning. Therefore, with effect of 1 August, the department decided that they will only publish the COVID-19 surveillance data on a weekly basis, but will continue to closely monitor the situation. That being said, unfortunately, the last figures that were in actual fact reported on was at Friday, the 29th of July. And the figures at that point were 354 cases and a total of 5 deaths in the previous 24-hour period. And being, from the first, they're saying on a weekly basis, not too sure which day they're going to actually utilize to do the reporting. But 10 to 1, it'll be like tomorrow, the 8th. And of course, that means that I will always then be a week behind in terms of the figures. So there are no new updated figures available anywhere at this moment in time. And we will have to wait for the actual date of release of their weekly reporting structure. So we'll have to see what happens on that one. Moving forward, nothing else much to report worldwide. I mean, just generally, the world is upside down. It's almost as though it's lost all of its sanity. And I think the greatest thing that's taking place right now is, of course, Israel is again firing rockets into Gaza and trying to take out certain preemptive or take out key targets in a preemptive strike and operation of the Gaza Strip again. Outside of that, really not much happening. The heat in Europe, again, that they are still continuing. I saw some news release of, I think it might have been Croatia, expecting a high of around 50 degrees Celsius, which would have been the highest ever recorded for them. And then several other countries in Europe are still experiencing way above 35 degrees. And that the has that whole situation with regards to the high heat has actually fallen off of the global news. I think that cycle has come to an end. Either that or everybody has actually dropped down from dehydration, and they are incapable of producing any sort of reports. I don't know. That's just an assumption, purely an opinion. As I said, I will be controversial at some point. And well, there we go. Of course, amateur radio, anything that we, personal opinions, we're more than welcome to. Legally, we are permitted to do so. Okay, ZS6 OPS returning, and for those of you that can't see, but I'm actually at Tona Beach at the moment. I've got a beautiful background there of crystal clear blue seas and a bit cloudy on the sky side. But I tell you what, the beach is absolutely pure white. So I'm in my element at the moment. I don't know about the rest of you South Africans, but there again, I don't give a continental what you think at this stage because of the fact that I am on the beach. So outside of that, and there we go, the Middle East has come up again. What's this now? Tuesday, Middle East. Temperatures, they are expecting temperatures way above 40 degrees. So, yeah. That there is going to be a bit of a serious problem. Normally they do have high temperatures, but I think that this one is actually going to go even higher. And it looks as though ZS6 GRG has decided to join us on Zoom. Good evening, George. I think you're still connecting. You probably have been monitoring, and of course, I can only make an appeal. Get your antenna up, and then you can hear all my controversial remarks first-hand knowledge, without having to have others twist it and, do all the other good stuff. So, George, welcome. I don't see your video. If it's not George, whoever it is, please show your face, and then we can take it from there. Okay, let's see. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to ask something? Please go ahead now. Let's see if we can tackle it. If not, I will see if there's any other late joiners or anybody else that would like to come in. And other than that, we'll close the net, and then I'll just have a general chat with the guys that are up on Zoom. ZS6 OPS standing by. Yeah. Okay, nothing else heard, although I think Gideon might have wanted to ask something there. Gideon, if you want to ask something, give me a thumbs up or give me a thumbs down. Thumbs up. Okay, go ahead. Gideon, GSR, ZS6 GSR, ZS6 OPS.
reading about the James Webb telescope. This Webb telescope seems to be quite an amazing thing. There was one professor somewhere in Europe. He was making a bit of a joke, so he took a photograph of a piece of sausage which he cut in half, and he said that's a more or less fake photograph. But then he admitted to what he done, and he actually posted a proper photograph from the James Webb telescope. So quite amazing. I've been looking at some of the photographs coming through, and really amazing images that the telescope is picking up, much better than anything we've ever seen. I don't know if anyone has been watching or tracking it, but I really think this James Webb is quite remarkable with this gold-plated mirror pointing to the deepest parts of space. Z6 OPS, Z6 GSR.
Okay, so there we go. Now, if we were in the UK, I'm sure I could come back quite honestly and say, well, at least he admitted to it, even though he was a total sausage, to be taking photographs of sausages of his own accord. But anyway, no, from my side, I haven't. My hands have been busy. Moving on, I see George is back there with his miner's lamp on. Yeah, George, don't flash me like that. The pink bikini is the one that, there we go. Now I can see that ugly mug of yours. Anybody else want to put in any additional questions or comments or otherwise? Except George, fortunately, he can't say what he wanted to say there on air. His radio doesn't make it through. Anybody else? ZS6 OPS standing by. Okay, nothing else heard. Let's check and see. Anybody want to be added to the bottom of the list? ZS6 OPS. Okay, nothing else to be added, or no one else at least to be added to the bottom of the list, and nobody coming up with any snotty or sly comments to that, which is a good thing. Maybe they starting to learn their lesson or just getting bored with their childish games, but at least we've been able to get ahead with our evening net with a little bit of fun and humor and without any sarcasm. Okay, well, I suppose I better speak for everybody else, because I can't speak for myself on that one. I mean, of course, I'm being sarcastic as I say that. Guys, again, you know, look, even though the National Health Department has announced that they're not going to be doing the reporting, they, in their communique, their news release of the 31st of July, they do categorically and quite clearly stipulate that the pandemic is not over as yet. And therefore, again, moving forward, you know, if you're going to meet with people, especially the elderly who could in actual fact be severely affected if they do contract COVID, of course, be considerate and physically distance yourself. Definitely don't social distance. I never like that term. For those that have been listening to my weekly broadcast from the 1st of January 2020 on COVID in particular, I never liked the term social distance because we could in actual fact still be sociable by means of Zoom, FaceTime, WhatsApp, Skype, and Telegram, and Signal, and various other applications. We could still keep in contact, but still physically distance yourself. Wear a mask, especially around the elderly, not to protect you, but to protect them. And then, of course, for your own benefit, especially now, again, as we come out of the winter months, sanitize your hands. You'd be surprised, it actually does reduce other respiratory diseases like flu, influenza, that type of thing. I know a lot of people have always wondered why it is, and George and Pierre will bear with me. They know that I've had a bottle of D-Germ on my desk since the day they met me. And whenever they've walked in, I've made them feel like total idiots, because I've always sanitized and washed, you know, sort of washed my hands before I greeted them, and after they shook my hand type of thing. But you know, it definitely does keep the flu and the influenza at bay. Doctor's bill, I don't know about an apple a day. I don't eat apples, but it definitely does help. So, having said all of that, of course, for the following week, be safe, be prepared, and of course, be happy. This is ZS6OPS releasing 145.625 for general use. Cheers all. Okay, so let's stop this before I say something.